Hello folks, today we're going to talk about adding color to your web layout using Illustrator. Voila! This is the basic layout that I'd come up with value, hierarchy, design incorporated. And obviously I did not just do the logo in value black and white, which I probably should have for the sake of this presentation, but I didn't. So just pretend I did and maybe design your logo in black and white for your values hierarchy thing. Anyways, be a better example than me. So, just to show you how to come up with a color scheme. Like, this one is complementary. I picked a color from the logo, one of the blue colors, to come up with a complementary color scheme. So if you'll notice, you can choose any object. So let's go to the object selector. Okay, good. We are on an object selector, and as long as the lock, it's not toggled to lock, you can select an object, and if you go to recolor artwork, you can choose the color of the artwork, etc. Or you can go here and choose the color that just choose a color that you want to start with that looks promising to you. And I already chose that color, so I can't exactly show you that process, but pretend this was the color. So if this was my base color on CS6 Illustrator, okay, on other Illustrator software, you may have to use the recolor artwork tool to do this. But over here on the color guide, you can click down, and for the complementary colors, all I did was click this right here, complementary, and it gives you the exact complement of the color that you wanted to start with as your base. You can choose a different base if that's not a combination that you like, and that would be great and it would work for you. So just basically try to find a color scheme that you want to work with, and then beneath it will give you all the shades which are darker than your color and the tints which are lighter than your color, and you can use those to build the hierarchy and tints and shades for your layout. I took the images out, the thumbnails and the image below this pull-out quote, so that you would be able, well, so that I would be able to see basically just the layout that I was coloring in as I designed. And I worked around with the different elements, coloring them, making sure they were as legible as possible. And this is the complementary color scheme I used to build it, using these shades and tints. So as you can see, there's still maybe some adjustments to make. Like, I think that these would look better if I move them down a bit. I think they're kind of crowded up into the triangles too much. So if I move these down, it'll look a little more balanced and aligned and emphasized at all the right places. And when the time came, I might even move it down a little further, but for the present purposes, that wouldn't be a good idea because you wouldn't be able to see all this stuff anymore. So back to these thumbnails. I kind of think the play buttons are standing out a little bit too much compared to the rest of it. It's okay that this design by shows up because it doesn't overtake the rest, and it's good that it shows up because it's part of the logo. But these play buttons aren't actually as important as they're trying to be. So I might try to recolor those. Like so. Maybe make the orange a little bit lighter. We'll see what this orange looks like. That looks a bit better, and it doesn't just draw your attention straight to that orange arrow. I also might consider softening the edges or playing around with more things, but as it is, that's how you choose a color scheme, and we'll move on to examples of other color schemes that you could choose. So this is a complementary color scheme, and I used mainly blue with only orange highlights and a really, really dark over here, the brown text. And I stuck mostly with the hierarchy that was shown in the black and white layout. And so that is a complementary color scheme. You can also create a monochromatic color scheme by choosing a color that you want to start with. So say it is, whoops, wrong button. Say it was this color. I could choose this color, and I could go over here and find monochromatic. I think that the actual monochromatic scale I chose might have been something like this one, monochromatic 2. As you can tell, there are lots of different choices that you can use, even just for these basics, and if you want, there's also all these other choices for color schemes. They'll come up and yeah, you'll see that there's a lot of different ones. Like that's Baroque as more muted color, so there's a lot of stuff that you can explore. But for this particular thing, I used monochromatic. And so if it will allow me to select such a thing, that would be great. There, okay, that's better. That's the colors I used to build this monochromatic layout. And I kept to the same hierarchy pretty much, tried to keep it as legible as possible, changed the colors in the logo to match the monochromatic scheme. And basically that is a monochromatic version of this layout. Looks pretty nice. This is an analogous layout. If you'll remember, that's using colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. It's very close to monochromatic because I use mostly colors that were very, very close to each other except for the strokes. So I should, in order to make it more of a good example of an analogous layout, I would have to maybe add in more color because this is more of an example of monochromatic in blue. However, it was originally intended to be analogous. So what I did was I chose one of these colors here. I do not remember which one was my original color, but I will select one of these things and we'll see where it takes us. Okay, it doesn't take us to quite the right place, but that is a much lighter scale of the shades that I would have probably used. What I actually did for this though is I took the shades from my logo and I implemented them, my original logo design. I implemented them into an analogous color scheme and just kind of added more analogous colors as I went. So that's the thing I was working from, but it ended up kind of more like this instead, which is just fine. So maybe to add some variation, I would make the edges more of a purple color instead. Right now they're a deep navy. Now they are purple, and that adds just a little bit more color. So that's how you would create an analogous color scheme, as well as I already showed you, the complementary and monochromatic schemes. For this particular layout, I think that it's not quite sophisticated looking enough to pull off this color scheme, the analogous one, or the monochromatic one. They look nice, and I think this one is almost nice. I mean, I really like the color scheme, but I don't think it quite fits with the layout. I think the best fit for the effect I was going for with my layout is this complementary color scheme. It's more fun and playful, and that goes with the kind of sharp, big geometric shapes, kind of like the university banners that are hanging down as the links. And it just reminds you more of school colors, and it fits more, I think. So this is the layout that I would choose, this color scheme. Thank you, and good luck with designing your colors.